Welcome to Resilient in Business, a podcast where we dive into insights, strategies, and systems to help you build scalable, thriving businesses. My name is Jad Atwe. I'm an engineer, an entrepreneur, and a business coach. Our intention from this show is to provide value and inspire entrepreneurs to keep pushing forward no matter the challenges. If you enjoy the content, subscribe and help us spread the message. Now, let's get into today's episode. In today's competing life and work demands, being resilient is not a luxury, it's a necessity. I'm excited today to be joined with Marie-Hélène Pelletier. Dr. Marie is the author of The Resilience Plan, which is a strategic approach to optimizing your work performance and mental health. She has a background in psychology and business. She's a university lecturer. She's an executive coach. 20 years of experience in leadership, psychology, and executive coaching. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Marie. I'm excited to learn more about you and your work.
Great. I'm thrilled to be here, Jad.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes. Well, background is combination of psychology and business. So I'm a work psychologist, did clinical and counseling psychology, and then worked in leadership roles and did a lot of projects, management, and all these kinds of things, and then combined it with an MBA, and then pursued all levels of leadership, basically junior, middle manager, stuck between the two, senior leader as well. And now in my business, I do three things: a lot of speaking, so keynote speaking, and executive coaching, and still working as a psychologist in a small practice.
What got you interested in the topic of resilience?
It is the potential. It's realizing the potential of the opportunity we all have to invest proactively that changes the course of how things go, right? Because resilience is not only when we're in the midst of dealing with a particular adversity, something acute or chronic. It could also be to help us go through any demands. And we don't have to wait until we're there. In fact, we can build resilience capacity before. So even if there's nothing in particularly big ways that is demanding right now, we have this opportunity to build that capacity so that when we're dealing with something, which life being life, there will be times, then we have an opportunity to influence how we will respond to this, which then also influences the outcome and how we will be after, how we will potentially grow and learn from these situations to inform the future. So sometimes people think of resilience as a personality trait that is, it's set, it's there, and it's the way it is, and there's nothing we can do. And it is connected to some personality traits like optimism, for example, and it's also a trait, a state, something we can influence and that I would say we really want to influence.
Yes, absolutely. If we want to define the problem, in your experience working with different coaching other leaders, what do you find are the pain points or the challenges that they face where resilience is required?
I think it's anything in the work they do, anything the work we do, it's true for you and me as well, that is fairly demanding. So sometimes it could be anything. It could be dealing with our particular leader right now that is, say, challenging. It could be dealing with a very demanding work situation or project. It could be dealing with the combination of work demands and personal demands that happen all at the same time. It could be any of these demands that we know we have the skill to deal with. We can. But part of what happens is we've been tapping into these resources for all kinds of things, and we have not necessarily invested in building it back. So now we're facing these demands and it's hard. Any of these demands, doesn't matter what they are. They are varied. Sometimes they're interpersonal, sometimes they're logistical, they're financial. It could be any of these. And in order to bring our best to deal with these situations, we need to have that resilience capacity.
And what do you find contributes to building this capacity?
Yes. Well, we know we have research on this. And the funny thing, Chad, is we we know what these things are. The challenge is not so much in knowing, it's in doing. So we can talk about that. But just so we're all on the same page, yeah, the kinds of things that we assume would probably help are actually backed up by research. So 4 key ones, and there are others, are things like moving our body, exercise. And exercise, usually 3 types of exercise: cardio, strength training, and meditative type activity, whether it's yoga, meditation, tai chi, things like that. So exercise overall. And nutrition, significant impact on how we will build our resilience. The sleep, so paying attention to the quality of our sleep, what we do before we sleep, during, after, all that. And time in relationships. And that's the one often that people will push to the side. They'll try to do the first 3 more than this one, where this one is actually very important. They're not in order. There isn't a research that shows which one we should do first. Ideally, we do all 4, and they actually optimize each other. So all of these would be actions to consider. There are others, like I said, volunteer work. So helping others has been shown by research to make a difference. Time in nature. So if we're going to go for a walk and we have the choice between sidewalk or the park, assuming the park is safe, go in the park, makes a difference. There, a number of these things we know, right? They all make sense. And whenever we've done them, we have felt a lot of the time that our capacity increases. It's in the doing. Yeah.
Tell us more. What holds people back, or what should we have in place in order to make sure that we're actually doing them?
Yes, right. It's what holds us back often. What I hear from people I work with is we just don't have time. The days are full, overflowing already. That's what people say. That's their experience. I know it is their life. It's sometimes been mine too. I get it, right? It's not like we have this wonderful 2-hour free every day where we could say, oh, look, this window is here and I will use it to build my resilience. It's often that. But, and I'm saying it in a bit of a playful way, but it's true, that very simple notion of I just don't have time. But then time, similar to time for other things, often comes with, do I prioritize it? Have I realized the degree to which this is necessary? This will allow me to, in a work context, for example, really bring my best, really be aligned with the brand that, like your personal brand at work, what you believe in, how you want to contribute, right? And so it's that firm, deliberate attention to it. So putting it a priority, right? Because it's the same thing we've done for other things that we think we don't have time for. At some point we say, it's a priority, I'm going to do it. And then what comes with what I'm saying just now is let's have a plan. And let's make a plan that's realistic, which then connects with often how I work with this, where I say we need to be strategic. Meaning, we need to have a plan that takes our context into account. So even if I say all these things about exercise, well, what's possible for you, Jad, right now versus what's possible for me may be different. And what's possible for each of us today may be different from 2 weeks from now or 3 months ago. And so that's the importance of context.
Yes. So it's customizable based on every person's like particular situation.
It's customizable, and I would even say has to be customized, because if we don't customize it, all that happens is I try to now suddenly tell myself, okay, we know exercise is important. I'm going to do 5 days a week to the gym, where if it is not something I've been doing, of course, it's not realistic. I'm not going to go to the gym 5 days next week. It's not been what I was doing. It doesn't work for me. And then all that will happen, in addition to not doing it, is I'm going to feel disappointed, guilty, disappointed, frustrated, whatever. It's not going to be positive. So, and therefore not helpful. Like, I'm not going to go more. So no, it has to be customized, because if I do that, instead of saying I'm going to go to the gym 5 times, maybe I will say, okay, well, I have not been, let's say, active at all, and I want to increase it. What is realistic, doable in my context is to start by doing 1 walk per week of 5 minutes, going to the corner of the street and back. So that's very small. And ultimately, does it need to get sort of bigger and more regular? Absolutely. And But this will only happen if I start gradually.
Correct.
Mm. Yeah.
So we're putting together a plan. Basically, is it like our commitment to what we're going to do for ourselves, let's say every week? Is this the idea behind it?
It is a commitment. The frequency itself will again vary, right? Because sometimes for some people, part of the plan is they're realizing, okay, yes, I've been actually okay on moving my body. I do that. Okay, fine. The piece that I'm not doing is investing in relationships. And so maybe it's not going to be every week, but maybe I'm going to commit to myself that I will reach out to someone in my network and meet either in person or electronically, do at least one of those once a month, for example, right? So again, that too gets customized, but it's looking at it and in how you're going to get to, okay, what is my plan? You're looking at my suggestion, and it's aligned with other frameworks and research. You start with your values. So what's most important for you in life? And if you do that, right away, we're going to be customized because what's most important for you or for me is not exactly the same. I suspect you and I may share some of those, but still, right? So it will be different. So you start with this, and then you add other pieces that I discuss in my book and in my work in general, which then leads us to a plan that is realistic, but also very personal in this moment in time.
Hey, a quick commercial break. This podcast is brought to you by Business Optimization Partners, a firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs systemize their business and transform it into a professionally managed asset that is scalable and easy to operate. If you wish to learn more, download the guide to running a professionally managed business that's available in the description. Now, back to the episode. And is this where we're touching on, you mentioned something about 6 strategic levers. Is this where we're going over the mindset, energy, recovery? Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Well, the levers will vary from, again, person to person kind of thing. But what I usually recommend in terms of how you're going to get to your plan is I've tried to simplify because it is true. People do not have a lot of time. So how about we go to the tools that will be most impactful in finding what you need to do. And that's what I've done, knowing that everyone is so already busy, obviously, but we do need a change, right? So yes, you start with your values and make a list so you have that really clear at the forefront. Then you explore what are your actual sources of supply. So what brings you energy right now in your life that you're actually doing, not you're hoping you'll do, but what you're actually doing, and your sources of demands. And that informs what is your context. And then I walk people through exploring other aspects of their context, what's helping internally and hindering, like a tendency to say yes to everything, for example, and externally, like what is around me that is helping and what's hindering, like an extremely demanding workplace, perhaps. And when we have all this, then you can use all of these to identify where am I going to focus on first, which again, each person will decide what are my levers? What am I going to invest in first? And I usually go with three strategic pillars, which you identify depending on your context. So they are personal and you're picking them based on whatever makes sense, either where you want to start, either lowest hanging fruit, whatever makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. And how does this affect? Okay, great. So we have our resilience plan. We were working on what really matters most to us. How do you find this affects? Is it a solution to that helps us with our mental health, to stay calm, to be not overreactive? Is this the intention of this work?
It does a number of things. You're right. Yes, it will. I mean, it will influence our resilience because our mental health. Resilience influences mental health, right? Because mental health, in a broad sense, right, is our ability to contribute to our work or schooling or life or whatever we're doing and to have this involvement in our society or our community and to do this with the energy and health we need. So if we have, so it encompasses many things. One of these things is our ability to go through adversity and demands and go through in a way that's successful and often that we learn from and grow even stronger as we do this. So yes, it will influence this. Often people I work with have not yet experienced mental health challenges to the degree where they'll consciously do it in order to improve their mental health or maintain it or nourish it. It does that, which is great. Sometimes people will do it with that purpose, especially if in the past they've gone through a burnout or they tend to be highly anxious or, different things like this. So yes, sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it will influence it positively and it's just a byproduct. But for everyone, part of what it does is people report a sense of being even more grounded, having even more influence and control over how they will contribute to the various things they do. And often people who work with me approach me so that we work on the work context. That's often the first door. The reality is that resilience does not have a lane, right? It's all within us. It's not, oh, I'm resilient at work and I'm not at home, or vice versa. It will influence everything. And that too is immensely satisfying. I'll give you an example. Someone realizing that, okay, to build my resilience, part of what I want to do, and also because of my values of, say, family, I want to increase how much time, quality time, I spend with someone I love, that I live with, for example, that otherwise it's more transactional, just getting the lunch ready or, getting things done. Sometimes people here will then realize, wait a second, I actually really want to make sure I spend even whatever a short or whatever amount of time they decide with this individual who I love and is so important for me in my life. And what happens, and now it sounds logical, right? Okay, that's great. It goes further than this because and you can imagine it, as we do this, obviously it brings the positive outcome that it does. You've spent that time, you've learned new things about the person or in your relationship, but then it leads to a deep sense of satisfaction, a deep sense of alignment, a sense also of self-efficacy, a belief that we can influence how things will go. No, the day does not have to go in a running all day, going to bed exhausted every day. There is a way for me to say, this is important. I will carve out the time. And when I do this, everyone benefits.
Yes,
And that then builds that sense even further of self-efficacy.
absolutely. There are many things connected to this concept from my understanding. I mean, well-being is a major part of it. Self-efficacy, as you're saying, and then it's like a ripple effect, Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It is a ripple effect, 100%, because part of what happens is, as if we go back to that concept of self-efficacy, right? The belief I can influence this. The beauty with this is that as we build self-efficacy for what's going on here, we're also building the belief that, okay, I can influence this again in the future. So I did this today. I spent this additional time with this person and we all loved it and that was great. Well, now I'm thinking I could do this again. I could do it tomorrow. I could do it next week. I could do it on a regular basis. And the more you start seeing this and doing it, the more you also build the belief that you can influence other things. So things that perhaps in the past you would have thought, oh, there's nothing I can do, it's just the way it is. Now we realize maybe I can influence it and maybe I will try. And now we're increasing our optimism and agency, which we need, right? There's so many things in what we're dealing with, whether it's at work or personal life, whether it's in the leadership role or contributor to a team. Sometimes there's a lot we feel we don't have control over. And often there are things we do have control over.
Of course, working with other leaders, is there like a certain time frame where you find that they're applying this work and they're finding change? Is it measurable?
That's a great question. Well, I've done it and I've heard people doing it at different places. Of course, I'm going to say, if we know, and we often know as leaders, what is the most demanding time of the year, right? Is it November because we're exhausted? Is it March because it's fiscal year for us? Is it, right? There will be moments like this. Or sometimes there's this big project with a deadline. So we can predict that the few weeks prior, everyone's going to be, close to the bottom of their tank. So let's be proactive. Instead of just saying, oh, November is always like this, just put your head down and try to survive. Could we say, okay, we're now, let's say a few months prior, can we talk as a team and discuss how can we make this November different this year. And so now it's your resilience, as you could do it for yourself, just as a leader, so that you're also doing better in November. But you can broaden this conversation to the team as well. So you're proactively planning it. So the ideal timing, I would say, is proactive when you can. Yes. But even then, we could be let's say we find ourselves in November right now, you and I, and it is the time. Then we can still individually, but also have conversations about, all right, sounds like we did it again. We're in November, feeling almost exhausted. Is there anything we can do that will help this? Anything we've done in previous years that helped a bit? Yes, I remember that if I make sure that when I have zero concentration, instead of taking a break and listening to a podcast, if instead I just go for a brief walk and listen to nothing, it's a bit better. And research would be behind you on this, because we want passive recovery, not just getting busy doing something else, distracting myself. So then we may think of it in the moment. And then I would say the other thing is we can implement resilience building actions after. So let's say we're now in December, the busy moment was November, and we're debriefing on, or just thinking for ourselves, how it went, what can I learn from this? Okay, let's do all this. That's true. Very good. Can we also find an additional person to express appreciation to thank for whatever help they provided in November when we were so busy? Even if it's a small thing that they did, but it helped us, let's add, see what I'm doing now is infusing the relationship component in the work context, in a case either within this team or between our team and another team. And we're contributing to building, in this case, a culture of resilience where we're doing things like this in the work context.
Yes. Yeah, and I remember from your book you talk a little bit about building resilience teams as well and psychological safety.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about that.
absolutely. Part of what all teams need really to perform well, there's many things, but regardless of how the team looks like, big team, small team, longer term together or short term with this project, one of the things we know from research, two things teams need to function really well. One of them is clarity on the goal. So we're always really clear on what we're working together towards, because then we will adapt to get there. But another one is psychological safety, right? So that sense of that even if everybody else in the team is saying A and I'm thinking B, I can say that and it will be respectfully received and it'll be safe for me to say this, right? That's just a quick example to just wrap our head around the psychological safety. And this is extremely important because this is what allows us as a team to be able to build our overall resilience as a team. So our ability to go through the challenges together. So it's not just about being individually resilient. It helps. But individually resilient people don't necessarily make a resilient team. And part of what contributes to a resilient team is building that psychological safety. And to go one notch further in the specifics of what can we do for this, one of them is what I was mentioning earlier. Recognition is one of them, right? Making sure that we are recognizing what's happening, what is good and happening in the team, which this one is beautiful because it costs nothing. And we know from research has a positive impact. And I'll say often leaders think that they do it because they have done recognition before and they value it. And obviously, right? I've never heard anyone say, oh, no, we don't do this, right? Often we don't do it as much as we think we could. That is the frequency, the volume. So it's in you, but maybe you need to actually make a commitment to, I'm going to find something every day and say it. So I'm going to find something every week or every meeting or whatever, some kind of structure that will actually cue you as a leader to express the thing that often you've been thinking. You've noticed it and you think, well, I can't say that's like every single time because I've said it so many times. Yes, you can. It is a good thing.
Yes.
So that's
You,
one example.
Usually people, they forget the good. They just see what's happening wrong and they criticize.
Right? And it's well intended often. It is often in the context of continuous improvement and all this, right? And there's so much, so it feels like we need to focus on this. True, continuous improvement is a thing. So yes, we want to do that. And there's not just we don't want to only focus on the logistical continuous improvement. Keep that. We also want considerate continuous improvement on the health of the team, of investing in the psychological safety as well.
What do you find leaders don't understand about resilience? And what are the terms that they're saying that you believe are cues or red flags that, oh no, this is what you should pay attention to, that will help us identify the problem that they have?
Well, it varies. One of them sometimes is a tendency to think that, especially as leader, but also as a member of the team, or even in our personal lives, actually, to think that we have to be the rock. Like we have to be stable, solid, anything ever, and it's all good kind of thing. And so that is not helpful. Number one, because we're actually not rocks. We are human. So that's to be very, I know it's an expression,
Breaking
but
news.
to be right. But it's almost the way we think about it when we are saying rock, it's almost as if we actually are a bit thinking that we are immune to experiencing the negative impacts of everything that's going on. And sometimes this belief, it's not weird or coming from nowhere. It sometimes comes from us looking at how we've performed so far in our lives, thinking back about how we performed in previously very demanding times, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago, whatever. And we look at all this and we're like, well, yeah. And then people around us even will tell us, oh, you're a rock. You're the rock of the team. You're the rock of the family. So seriously, it actually builds. And so, but the reality is that, well, sometimes we're using outdated information, right? The way we reacted 5, 10, 20 years ago in this other moment is not the same as now. Well, number one, if anything, we're further down the road here. So the brain is not the same age that it was. We're also now dealing with more demands than the one specific that we had here. And no, the reality is, even as humans, even as highly capable, highly experienced, highly strategic, highly everything, we're still human. And we're actually going to be stronger if we realize this, so that we increase our capacity and do all these things. So the blind spot is to think that you're the rock, and you'll be even stronger if you let go of that perception.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the old mentality of being mentally tough, I guess.
Yes. 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 That's right.
So what would you say we didn't touch on over here that people should be aware of?
Yeah, that's great. I think that a good first step, a couple of ideas. So one general good first step is to start being a bit more curious about what could you bring back in your daily, weekly, monthly life that would likely increase your overall resilience capacity. If you're feeling great right now, I would say, yeah, look for that small doable action, because that will contribute to the movement and get you started. So if you're looking for something small, that would be the quick recommendation. Be curious, look for that one thing and do it. Okay. And ideally, often if you want to go to small, doable, the fastest, easiest way for most people is to find something that they've done before that still works in this context. It's not always the case, but if you find a small thing that sometimes people realize, oh yeah, I used to do this and I somehow let it go. If you can bring this thing back, that's often your next easy action. So being curious about this. If you're thinking, well, I could do a bit more, then I would say in the show notes, we're gonna put a link to worksheets that are, again, very doable. They can be used without the book, but they can be used with the book as well. One of these worksheets, there are 4, but one of them is a supply and demand table. And in working with many individuals over the years, this one table is often, it's very doable. Seriously, it's 2 columns, supply, demand. You're writing all the ways in which your energy increases at work and in personal life, actually happening, not what you wish. And you're doing the same thing for demands at work, personal life. And we're not just writing the negative demands, the ones we wish we didn't have, but we're writing the positive ones too. So those that we were very happy to have, but they are demanding more energy and time. That's all. Just that one exercise often pushes people to realize where their next action lies. And that can be a really good one. If you want to do more, then I would say add the values exercise, because now it will help guide where to put your energy even better, right? Because you start seeing the direction, literally, it appears. That's why I've done these worksheets. So these are some examples of where I would say where to go next, right? Because often that's the idea. It's all nice to talk about all this, but what we want, what's going to make a difference is your decision to try a small, doable next action differently from what we've done before.
Yeah. And it's one thing working one thing at a time. Do you recommend, or just going after everything at once?
Yeah. What do you think? No, I know what you're. I know why you're asking, because often, right? Especially, I mean, as people who like to get a lot of things done, often people in leadership roles, in business type roles, we're thinking everything at the same time. It's right. In this case, it's not going to work. Everything at the same time here would mean you do nothing, because you're like, well, I cannot do everything at the same time. So in this particular case, for sure, the small doable action is to be prioritized. Number one, it's the only thing we can probably do, but that's also what's going to set things in motion. So I would go for the small action. And if you're looking for like, okay, specifically MH, give me one, give me something, then I would say 2 minutes meditation once a week. I'm going to go that. So very small. But we know from research, it's going to make a difference. And often people I work with, leaders, business contributors, they do already, some of them, a bit of the other things like the movement or paying attention to the sleep or paying attention to their nutrition. The meditation is often what they've pushed aside and not done. So I would go for that one.
It's interesting to hear some success stories. I mean, what's the experience from people that you're working with?
Yes. Well, it's a combination of many of the things we've talked about so far. One of them is, when you write a book, one of the things that you can do, I only wrote one, so I'm learning all of these things. But one of the things you can do is do a focus group, right? Have people meet and do the thing that you're proposing in the book and getting feedback and all that. So I did that virtually. So I had people from all around the world. I'm very lucky there. But one of the people who was there connected with me after all this and said, could you come and do this workshop for my team of leaders in person, do a workshop, that kind of thing? Oh, okay. Yes, I can. So I did, which is cool, because now I ended up meeting her in person at that event. And what she did is she said, I'm going to sit at the back and let, the team experience the whole process of creating their personalized, customized resilience plan. So we did all this. At the end, after others were talking to me and all this, she came to me and she said, okay, something really cool just happened. She said, I initially thought I would just sit at the back and wait. But she said, I realized because that happened now 3 months after the virtual workshop that she did for the book. So she said, she said, I realized that I had actually done the actions from my plan from January, and I had reached these goals. So I was ready for the next version of my plan. And that's what she ended up using the workshop fully and creating her next plan, so she was very excited. And I was, and still am, as you can tell, very excited about this, because in business, when we create a strategic plan for anything, new product, new anything, the plan is not forever. It is for a period of time, and then it needs to evolve to go to its next iteration. The context has changed and all that. And the same thing applies here. So she had, number one, seen the effectiveness of having her plan and implementing it, because it was now very customized. So instead of being stuck, which she was before all this, she was experiencing all the things we talked about, that sense of self-efficacy, that satisfaction of having reached these goals, having more of that control, that influence, and the realization she was ready for her next plan. And she did that. So I was like, oh, that's Couldn't ask for more. This is perfect.
It works.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Marie. This was amazing. Many people are not aware of how to solve some of the challenges they have or some concepts that could be new. So, yeah,
Yes, there is so much, right?
tell me about it. How can people buy where is the book available? How can people connect with you, work with you, and also buy the book?
Thank you. Thank you for asking. It is everywhere. So wherever you buy books, it is there. So, and if you buy books in all kinds of places, then I would say try to support your local bookstore, because local bookstores are also a place of community, right? And we want to support them. So you can go to your local bookstore. If they have it, great. If they don't have it, you can ask them to order it and buy it there.
Yes.
If not, you can buy it online, wherever you buy your things online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you are in any country you are in, it's there. And then you can find me. Find me by looking at theresilienceplan.com online or connecting with me on LinkedIn. We'll have all this in the show notes, perhaps. Always happy to hear from people. And like I said, we'll have the worksheets related to the books. If you want to just start on your own, even without the book, you can do this. You can do it with the book. You'll have more information, but they're still very useful as is.
I read the book. It's worth going through it, absolutely. So highly recommend it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marie. Thanks.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning into the Resilient in Business podcast. This show is all about providing valuable insights and inspiring entrepreneurs to keep pushing forward no matter the challenges. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and help us spread the message. See you on the next one.